this.
You don't need those because you don't got any guests anyway. Carry on.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I welcome you all back to the Ramadan Radio Wolves. You're listening to Ramadan Radio Wolverhampton on FM 87.8. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu to all the listeners in Wolverhampton and all around the world who are listening on Facebook, Instagram, or website, or on FM radio. So before going to the break, I was discussing about the inventions of the great genius or the father of mechanical engineering, Al-Jazari. So to tribute the Sultan Alauddin for his enormous victories and what he's done for the Baitul Maqdis and for the Muslims. So the son of Salahuddin asked him to create a clock, to honor him. And Al-Jazari created a fabulous clock, which is still a magnificent or priceless piece in the history. So what he did, and that clock was very diverse. So what he did, he used the Greek Archimedes water principle combined with the Indian water timing device called the Gati. So on the base, there was an elephant, which represents the Indian. And on that alien, there was an Egyptian phoenix right on the top. There was a Persian carpet in between. There were some Arabian figures on the top and on the elephant, on the mahout. And there was a Persian carpet and the Chinese dragon. So you can say it was a very well diverse clock representing the United Nation of the world, created by Al-Jazari. So there was a meaning or symbols behind putting those things in his clock. So the elephant was a symbol of royalty, because in India, the Raja, the Maharajas, the Sultans, they were using elephant as the right. So the elephant was a symbol of the royalty. The phoenix was the rebirth and the life, according to the Egyptian culture. And the dragon was the power and impregnability. So as well as celebrating this diversity, what he did, so his clock was consist of the base, which is an elephant. And on elephant, there is a mahout. His arm moves around when the ball falls from the top of the dragon. On his back, there is a tower, In that tower, there are two Chinese dragons, Those Chinese dragon catches the ball from the falcon and then descended towards the Indian elephant. There was a scribe in the middle, which was the minute handle. And this rotates during every half an hour before resetting it to the initial position. And inside that elephant, there was a ghati, or there was a bowl, which was perforated. And when the dragon drops the ball into this vase, it resets the bowl and bring it back up. So it's after every half an hour, this bowl sinks into the water, plays the sound, and the scribe moves, and then it all resetted it back. So let's go back from the top. Start from the top. It's easy. So on the top there was a gumbad, and on the gumbad there was a phoenix. So the phoenix, it sprays after every half an hour. So there was a ball inside. So one of the balls falls onto this rotator, which is inside, and when it touches the rotator, it spins the phoenix. In the front of the gummad, or the tomb, there was a dial. This was the face of the clock, and it tells you the hours passed or the number of hours passed. So it turns white. Just below that gumbad, he make a statue of Sultan Salahuddin, the Magnificent, and when the balls falls into rotator, spins the phoenix, and the ball then comes to a beak of a falcon. So when the ball reaches the beak of the falcon, the Sultan Salahuddin moves and reveals the falcon from his right side. Then the ball from the falcon, okay, released in the castle, travels into the back of the falcon's head and out of its beak into the Chinese dragon, which is just directly below to that falcon. So when the ball falls to the Chinese dragon just tilts, okay, catches the ball and descends towards the elephant. And on that elephant there is a vase, and the ball drops in that vase. And when the ball drops into the vase, the dragon goes up, the ball from the water comes up, and it means it's half an hour, and the scribe just move, telling the minutes. So this was a brilliant clock made by Al-Jazari. And if anyone of you have been to Dubai to tribute this beautiful invention of Al-Jazari, they made a very huge oversized clock in Ibn Battuta Mall in Dubai. And that clock is about 7 meters high, almost 3 times the original size. The original Al-Jazari clock was this size, about on the tabletop. But the one in Ibn Battuta clock, I've been there, I've seen it. It's really amazing. It's really, really amazing. And probably you can find it on YouTube as well, the Al-Jazari clock in Ibn Battuta Mall. If you search, you can see. So it is 7 meters high, 1.7 meters wide, 4.5 meters long, and weight about 7.5 tons. It's just to tribute a great the father of the mechanical engineer, Al-Jazari. So again, I encourage the callers to call on our studio to answer some question, and the winner will get a surprise gift from Bioman 96, which is a company I own. So now we come about the cleanliness, or tahara in Islam. We know the importance of tahara. Tahara is nisful iman. In one of the hadiths, Prophet ﷺ mentioned, according to the summary of it. So in the medieval times, the Europe was very, in the European history, terms as the Dark Ages. But it's not just Dark Ages. It was being smelly. It was dark. It was rough. It was unclean. People don't used to take bath because they think the water was a holy thing and they shouldn't waste it on cleaning themselves. So that's why the people used to wear lots of layers, and they put lots of perfume on that so that people cannot smell. And so after a few days, they just take off those layers and put the new layers on, but they don't take shower or do not wash their faces or anything. But the Muslims, we used to, even if we don't do anything, we have to do a wudu 5 times a day, and which cleans our face, mouth, nostrils, arms, foot, everything. So this is the tahara. The concept of tahara was there in the Muslims from the beginning. So in the 10th century, the Islamic world thought it would be good to get some hygiene practices, okay? Like bathroom cabinets, hygiene practices like soaps. Those were invented or introduced by the Muslims. Back in 13th century, when there was a outstanding mechanical engineer, again Al-Jazari, he was doing this invention. The same time, the Muslims, they introduced a wudu machine, okay? And again, the inventor was the Al-Jazari. So there was a peacock on a tray. Again, you can research it and find it on Wikipedia or Google. So there is a peacock on the tray, and there's the water. So, if anyone wants to do wudu or ablution, it brings back the tray is brought forward to that person or the guest, and there's a peacock on the top, like I said. The guest would tap the head of the peacock, and the water would ensure in 8 short spurts, providing enough water for ablution, and it does not waste any water. So that was again an ingenious invention of Al-Jazari. From that, the Muslims, they invented the wudu area and the masjid. There was no taps, but there was this mechanism. So when they tap, that barrier or that lever just pulls up, and the water flows and reaches to that person who's doing the wudu. So again, in the same century, okay, the Muslim, they were using olive oil or soaps made with olive oil. In the hammams, the concept of hammam was never present in the Western world at that time. It was introduced by the Muslim in that century, the public hammams or public bath. In 1770, Sheikh Deen Muhammad arrived in the Europe. He was a Muslim family for Patna and India, and in 1759, he opened what was known as the Mahmood Indians Vapor Bath. And this bath was very, very famous. Okay, he moved to England or United Kingdom, and on Brighton seafront, okay, there is another site called the Queen's Hotel, still exists, and that was initially built by this Indian gentleman called Mahmood, Sheikh Deen Mahmood. So it was a bath before, it's called Mahmood Baths. And they were exactly like the Turkish baths. If you go on to Turkey or Morocco or on these parts, it's still you see Turkish hammams, Turkish baths. They are still very famous. It's like of the tourist attraction now. So what they did, they made the dyes and they put some soap in it and mix it with fragrance and olive oil. So even if they wash, their skins won't dry off. So they use a calculated amount of olive oil into the soaps. Al-Kindi, he was again one of the ingenious inventors. He wrote a book of chemistry of perfume and distillation. He was a very, very famous chemist. He did so many inventions in the chemistry. So he wrote into the book of chemistry and perfume and distillation. It contains more than 100 recipes of fragrant oils, hundreds of recipes, and people are still following that book, making different fragrance of oils, aroma waters, substitutes for millions of costly drugs. So they not just made the soaps, but they also make the cosmetic products. Al-Kindi, he was born in Kufa. He was Arab, but he is famous for his philosophy. He was a philosopher. But beside that philosopher, he was also a pharmacist, he was an ophthalmologist, he was a physicist, he was a mathematician, he was a geographer, he was an astronomer, and he was a chemist. So at that time and age, Muslims were not just specializing in one field, although he was famous for philosophy, but you can see, again, he was famous for so many other things. And now, at this stage, if we specialize in one thing, we just do not know about the other thing. We don't have to be master of all the industry, but we should have some basic information or basic knowledge or basic education about the different fields of what's going on. And there was one thing which is very, very common in all these Muslim inventors, all these Muslim scientists, that they were all practicing Muslims. They all went to the madrasa for their teaching. They were all implementing Quran in their lives. They were following the Sunnah of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them these ideas. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them this knowledge, this ilm, so they can discover so many things which are still very beneficial to us. So, going about the cosmetics, there was a BBC documentary which says, what did the ancient dates for us, the Islamic world? It says the idea of the Muslims eventually arrived at the Poitou province in France. Because at that part of the France, the soil was favorable to growing certain types of fragrance or certain types of flowers. So Muslim chose that land and they start putting those or start growing those flowers for the fragrance. That's why France till date is still known for the best perfumes in the world. And it was the Muslim who brought these fragrances to Europe. And there was no concept of fragrance or no concept of cleanliness in the medieval part. And then, like I said, people used to wear different layers of clothes. The more layer you wear, the more rich. The rich people wear more layers, and the poor people wear less layers. And when the layers get dirty, they would just wear another layer. So, going to our before moving to our next invention, I would just add there's at the time of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the bad breath, okay, or the food bites or the dental hygiene, okay, was very very prominent. That's why Huzur sallallahu alaihi wasallam introduced the concept of miswak, cleaning the teeth with a twig of miswak before each prayer, and that was in the 6th century, okay. So Swiss pharmaceutical company Farba Base Limited, they carried out some experiment on miswak. And they said, why the Muslim, they are so obsessed about it with miswak and they clean their teeth with miswak and they say that there is so many benefits of miswaks. So they carried out this research and they found that it contains antibacterial substances which destroy the harmful germs in the mouth and then cause gums, and then it just reduces the cause of the gum infections or the tooth decay. So it's after so many 100 years, a Swiss pharmaceutical company, Farba Base, they find out that this miswak, the stick which Muslims use to clean their mouth, to brush their teeth for centuries, it basically contains an antibacterial substance which helps the gum stays healthy. So if there was no miswak in the hand, okay, so sometimes there is no miswak. So what Muslims used to do, they used to eat cinnamon, nutmegs, cardamoms, and chewed coriander leaf to get rid of that bad smell. Or if they eat onions or garlic in their food, then they always chew some coriander leaf, try to get rid of this bad breath. So again, this remedy, if you go on any superstore, you'll find the toothpastes. I've got these cinnamon, nutmegs, you will find toothpaste where in ingredient there will be cardamoms, the mint leaves are very common in the toothpaste nowadays. So that shows about the cleanliness, the tahara of the Muslim at that time. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. We created the insan to the best of our creation. We created insan as a beautiful creation. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a creator. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is beautiful. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves who are beautiful, who keep themselves clean, who keep themselves in a hygiene condition. And it's not just the personal hygiene, it's just about the hygiene in home as well. It's very sad when some people goes into the Muslim populated area and they say, oh, the Muslim populated area are very uh, dirty and there's rubbish all over the footpaths. And you go to someone's house, there is smell of curry, small curry, and when they're coming to the masjid for namaz, their clothes just stinks with the smell of curry. So the Muslims should be the one, because it is the cleanliness, the tahara is the part of our iman. It's 50% of our iman. We should we should be a symbol of cleanliness to all the other nation. Our street, our houses, our outwear should be the example for all the other people. And our houses should be the model of cleanliness in this day and age. We should teach our children how to clean. We should do cleaning ourselves. We should look after ourselves. Because once a Sahabi came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his beard was not trimmed and it was grown. So Huzur sallallahu said the word Zubabun. What is this? And he asked us to trim his beard and look beautiful. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because when we're going for a namaz, we are standing in the front of the creator of this world, the Badshah of this world, the Sultan of Sultans, the King of things, the only one who's created all of us, the Rabb of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the last prophet, the Rabb of Adam alayhi salam, the first man who was created, the Rabb of Isa alayhi salam, the Rabb of Ibrahim alayhi salam, the Rabb of Musa alayhi salam, and the Rabbul Alameen, the Rabbul Muslimin, the Rabbul Alameen. Allah is the Rabb for all the people around the world. So when we're going to the mosque, we're going to the masjid, we are standing in front of Allah. We are the slaves of Allah. We are the Khalifa of Allah. We are the Naib of Allah in this world. So if we are going and standing in front in the namaz, in the saf, and our clothes are dirty, and our breath stinks, our clothes stinks, our socks stinks, this is not the Muslim way of going to a namaz. That's why the Muslim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it compulsory. The person who do not have wuzu cannot pray. Doesn't matter how many rakats, if you do not have a wuzu, you cannot pray your salah, you cannot pray your namaz. You cannot touch a Quran without having a wudu. Okay? Allah says in the Quran that the only people who have tahara, who are clean, will touch this Quran. So cleanliness, try to be clean, try to look very beautiful, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is beautiful and He loves the beauty of the person. And beside doing the external beauty, we should work also about our internal beauty, our iman. And the best way to cleanse our iman, our heart, is the zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is the month of Ramadan, the blessed month, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts all what you ask, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praises us in the majlis of the malaika. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, look, this, and that person is fasting, and he stopped from eating halal, he stopped from doing halal, he stopped from getting close to their spouse just because of my order. Why is he doing it? Just to please me. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes shahid to all the angels, and I will forgive this person. So my brothers and sisters, or all listeners, make intention to read istighfar. Make sure you read the kalma. That's all from today. See you next week. Subhanallahi wa bihamdi, subhanakallahumma ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik.